Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Tina, and I'm the marketing manager for 79 Consulting. I handle core marketing activities such as increasing brand awareness, promotional campaigns, developing collateral, and lead generation. Today's webinar will be covering the exciting topic of demand planning and how NetSuite's module can help optimize inventory, demand, and supply. We'll cover some terminology around demand planning and their application within the supply chain management area. We'll also do a couple of walkthrough demos in NetSuite directly. Before that, let's go over a few things. Our demos will be conducted in a NetSuite test account, which may be a bit slower than you're used to, so please bear with us. We have a chat feature available on this platform where you can ask questions. So please be sure to use this for any queries, and we'll cover them at the end of our session. I will also be sharing a few polls during the webinar just to learn a little bit more about you, our audience, and to improve our future sessions. Lastly, I'd like to share a few pieces of background information pertaining to our company, 79 Consulting. You may know us by Twarna, which is still our company, though primarily used outside of the US. Our name was hard to pronounce, so we changed it in order to make it easier for our clients. So don't worry if this is your first time learning about 79 Consulting. We have actually been around for well over 12 years. We were founded in 2007 as a Salesforce and NetSuite consulting firm. And in 2008, we became a NetSuite solution provider. In 2014, we created our first suite app, SkyDoc, which is a storage solution for NetSuite. We now have over 8 apps on suiteapp.com and continue to provide support, managed services, and integration services for NetSuite and Salesforce clients. And now let's introduce our presenter, Eric Holzer. Eric is our NetSuite senior architect who comes to us with over 9 years of experience on NetSuite, primarily focused on manufacturing and inventory distribution environments. His direct industry experience allows him to cater to our clients' unique requirements and provides us with his knowledge for this webinar. Hey, Eric.
Thank you, Tina. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm very excited to share my insights here.
Okay. Eric, should we get started? I'm going to kick off with a very basic question. What exactly is demand planning?
Sure, Tina. So demand planning is a supply chain management process forecasting or predicting the demand for products to ensure they can be delivered to satisfy customers' requested and or expected delivery dates. The goal here is to strike a balance between having sufficient inventory levels to meet customer needs without producing a surplus. Ultimately, excess product on the shelf is capital tied up.
Thanks for that explanation, Eric. Can you go into a little detail as to why demand planning is so important?
Sure, I can do that. There are a couple important reasons that I'd like to go over. When product isn't available for customers to purchase because of stocking issues, businesses will end up losing out on revenue. Even more importantly, over time, they could lose the customer altogether to a competitor. The other side of that coin is sitting on an excess of unused inventory, which incurs unnecessary space and production costs. With demand planning, business leaders can stay in front of market shifts and make more proactive decisions while being responsive to their customers' needs. An important note there is that demand planning allows a business to become more proactive rather than reactive.
Eric, can you tell us how NetSuite handles demand planning?
Sure. Since we kind of covered in a high level what we call demand planning and the importance the process plays in a business, let us discuss what NetSuite offers within the demand planning module. So NetSuite native demand planning module is specifically designed to provide the user with the ability to predict required inventory based on historical demand or sales forecasts. The calculated demand plan can then be leveraged to analyze supply requirements on inventory levels and/or required production of assembled goods. One of the key features that NetSuite delivers is the ability to easily define multiple inventory locations with real-time visibility. Locations can be organized hierarchically, and for global businesses, the country can be defined as well. During the planning process, the system can be set up to automatically create transfer orders between locations where necessary by utilizing a replenish by location report. Demand can be evaluated and presented in a number of different ways using the demand planning process. The menu structure is laid out in a way that shows the process to calculate demand, review the demand plans, and edit where required. Once satisfied with the demand plan calculations, we can then generate the supply plans, review and edit those as well, finally ending in planned purchase orders and/or planned work orders.
What are some of the most common planning methods, Eric?
Here, so NetSuite demand planning utilizes some of the most four common methods in the available planning options. The first one being linear regression. Linear regression uses previous demand to project future inventory based on the ordinary least square regression method. Our second option is moving average. NetSuite uses the moving average of historical demand to calculate the overall average stock level needed and then project future stock levels using that overall average. Third, we have seasonal average, where NetSuite uses previous demand to examine the seasonal trend of inventory flow and then project a similar trend for future stock levels. Our fourth option is our forward-looking option called sales forecast. So when using NetSuite for sales operations, this option uses forward-looking sales forecast data, such as opportunities, estimates, sales orders, or work orders to project the inventory demand. NetSuite's demand planning can also be used to offer your sales team important product availability information during the sales cycle process by introducing an expected ship date that the system automatically calculated as an available to promise function.
Eric, you just mentioned available to promise. Could you please go over that functionality?
Sure. So what NetSuite calls available to promise, or ATP, which is included in the NetSuite demand planning, you can determine this with one of two different calculations. The first one being called cumulative, available to promise with look ahead. When you're using the cumulative option, supply estimates are cumulative based on all outstanding orders within a horizon. This allows you to account for shortages that may occur in the future. The second option is discrete, available to promise. The discrete method reviews the amount available in each supply order and provides an available date for the given quantity. Now, these supply calculations are based on future dated non-posting transactions, such as purchase orders, sales orders, and work orders. These supply calculations offer added visibility for both purchasing and sales departments into the projected ship date of goods during the ordering process. This allows the user to check item availability based on open or outstanding supply type orders and demand-based orders. When we can see all of our demand and supply needs by viewing what NetSuite provides as the gross requirements inquiry. So on this page that NetSuite produces, and we'll show you, the gross requirements inquiry provides you with an overview of the progressive supply and demand cycle by listing quantities required and quantities supplied on each transaction date listed. Each transaction and date is listed along with more on hand or a less on hand quantity of the transaction, as well as the resulting total quantity on hand for the item. So now that we've described a couple of the functions and options in the system, we'll quickly describe how demand plans work in NetSuite, as well as how the supply plans work in NetSuite. So on the demand plan side, a demand plan records that expected future demand for an item based on previous or projected demand to come. NetSuite then allows you to automatically generate demand plans or to manually create your own item demand plan. Each user can then elect to analyze demand by using one of the following methods. It would be either set a time frame for examining an item's historical sales data and forecast future sales with similar trends, or use the current entered demand based on open opportunities, quotes, and existing sales orders. On the other side of that, we have the supply plans. So supply plans are the recorded recommended schedule for procuring and or manufacturing of additional supply of an item. NetSuite utilizes two options for replenishment methods for an item, which are reorder point and time phased. NetSuite will incorporate reorder points, lead times, safety stock, preferred stock levels, along with current demand by location when calculating the item supply plan. NetSuite also considers multi-tiered assemblies, where the generated supply plans will suggest, or by option auto-generate, sub-assembly work orders, as well as components required for the build. So now let's take a few moments. We're going to jump over into NetSuite and take a look at a few of these screens that we've been discussing. Okay, please let me know when you can see the screen. I have a little refresh happen here. Can you see the NetSuite dashboard?
Nice.
Excellent.
Yes.
So here's a quick shot of our dashboard. I have a couple KPIs in here. I can see different trend graphs, single-click navigation by module of where I might need to navigate, and then additional KPIs and trends can be customized and added to the dashboard as needed. Now let's jump over here. So today we're going to start by looking at the item master record. This is where all of our inventory levels in NetSuite is going to drive our suggestions from. So here I'm looking at a 400-watt power supply that we're going to use. I have my default available to promise method here set as cumulative with look ahead. My replenishment method today will be time phased. And if I scroll down to my locations, I can see a few bits of information around my inventory. I have 10 units on hand. And then when I scroll across to the right, I see I have additional demand planning attributes that I get to assign. Lot sizing method, lot for lot, so size the lot that equal to the supply order. You can identify fixed lot size, periods of supply type, periods of increment supply. This is an important piece here, supply type. This is an inventory item that we simply purchase. If this was an assembled product, our supply type would be build. So we would have suggested work orders instead of purchase orders. You get to define your demand time fence, your planning time fence, rescheduling in and out based on demand and supply order calculations, and then an available to promise lead time that you can define or allow the system to run on a report for you. Okay, so here I have my menu set up where demand planning, I'm in a purchasing or procurement type role, where I can hover over demand planning, go to run my demand plan, and I see my menu is organized top down from pages I need to begin with and move my way progressively down the list. So today we'll go ahead and click on calculate item demand plans. I will first, if I'm in a multi-entity environment, subsidiary first, then my location. The projection method I would like to use. Today I'm going to choose sales forecast. My projection interval, we're going to go ahead and look at this weekly. And I'm going to tell the system I want it to look for the next, say, 12 weeks forward and give me some estimates. I can see which items I would like to include in this type of a demand plan run. Today I'm going to choose our 400-watt power supply. And when I'm satisfied, I hit submit. At this time, NetSuite will let me know if a demand plan is already in place and I have current quantities in that demand plan. I can choose to not overwrite or to overwrite. and generate a single flat demand plan with new demand as well as previous. Once the system is done generating our demand plans, we can view them. We can see the last modified date as well as the type, projection method type. If we're interested, we can just go ahead and click on view of the demand plan. I can see my item, subsidiary location, pertinent information regarding the demand plan itself, and then I can adjust my dates for view, and I can see what my current demands are by our dates. So it looks like we have demand in 1 week for 100 units, and then following week about another 200 units. Okay. From here, I can choose to simply click on create item supply plans. If there was a time in between me running this page, maybe I log back in. If I come down here, I notice my next auto feature is generate item supply plan. Item demand plans is the result of calculation. So as we progress down the list. So from here, I will go ahead and click on generate item supply plan. Subsidiary, location, date range that I would like to view the plan suggestions. I see today's date will default in my start date. And then I can extend my view, if I would choose to what's coming out in the future. I can see I've already ran this as an example earlier today. I will select my item and hit submit. After the supply plan runs and the system has ran through, we get a nice little listing from our supply plan that displays what the system is suggesting for us. Our order type would be a purchase order. Suggested quantity is 319, means we have another order in there that we did not see previously, and we can now take a look at what that gross requirements inquiry page is going to tell us about that. Demand planning, run demand plans, gross requirements inquiry. I can see here that the system is suggesting a planned purchase order for 319 units based off of previous orders. So I have supply orders already entered at 11. Looks like I was at -1, brought me to 10. And as we enter our demand type orders, we see our quantity less on and quantity more on hand columns. If I would like further detail, I can click show details and the system will actually give me links to the records generating these values for me. Okay, our last page, since we know we need to procure some items here, we will navigate to our order items page. The order items page is split by location. These are filters across the top here. I can choose a specific location. If I only want to view orders for a specific supplier or vendor, I can. If I don't want to see a minimum quantity of less than 1 or 2 units, I can choose to do that as well. This page gives me both my time-phased inventory items, my reorder point items, as we discussed earlier, and for those looking for more advanced procurement methods, we have some blanket PO and contract information. So here I'm looking at my order start date. Today's date is 12/15, and then how far out I want to view suggested buys. Right now we're looking at a month range. If I wanted to see, well, what's really all the way out, I can. Nothing else exists. That 319 matches what NetSuite suggested on our supply plan to cover our inventory and demand needs. From here, I see I also have my items preferred supplier brought to the front. I have the option to override this quantity. If I would like to add a little buffer here, I can just key in 350 units instead. If this rate looks correct to me, I can accept the rate or adjust it here. You'll notice I already have a checkbox on this line. If I'm satisfied and I would like a purchase order generated by the system for the supplier for our 400-watt power supply, I can simply hit submit. NetSuite will then navigate us to a bulk processing page where if we had multiple suppliers being bought from on the same time on that previous page, we would see them listed, as well as the purchase documents being generated for each one of those purchase orders. So this will take some time as we are in a demo account. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and hand that back to Tina.
All right, thanks for that demo, Eric. We've gone over quite a bit of information so far. Let's now talk about inventory count. Inventory count is our suite app that helps users sync the physical warehouse to inventory on NetSuite. And it utilizes three types of counts: serialized, inventory, and lot. Eric is now going to take us through a quick summary of inventory count.
Yep, thank you, Tina. So let me go and grab this screen again. Apologize, I think I dropped that. Okay.
No
Please
worries.
let me know when you're able to see NetSuite again. Excellent.
Yep, I see it.
Let me jump over to our inventory count page. Little update, we got our complete purchase order here from our demand plan. So I have switched to another demo account here, and the page I'm starting on today is our scan items page. Now, the reason we wanted to bring this in to the whole light of what we just discussed with demand planning is demand planning is our systematic world where inventory is in our physical world, right? And having good inventory accuracy is key to accurate demand and supply planning, as we are aware. So NetSuite does offer a few inventory count methods. So what Travana has done is build a elevated feature set on top of NetSuite's inventory count options by allowing us to utilize barcode scanners outside of a warehouse management system module, but similar to it, where now we get to do cycle counting directly by scanning into the system. We also have the ability to generate different cycle counts by filtering out items on a list of different segment or attribute values outside of just classification of A, B, or C. We also have a way to filter and build out our inventory worksheet and present that in an exportable format so that we can then run the import to a preset mapping developed through the app. Okay, so first, I'm going to kind of simulate this as I don't have a barcode scanner. This would be our first page where we can show you how, if I simply open up the app and have a barcode scanner, I can just scan my first item. The system will retrieve some data. I can tell it which location and which bin, if applicable. Okay. From there, if I have multiple serial numbers or lot numbers, with my scanner, I can also scan those in. Okay. And then once done with that, I can also scan in a quantity for my live physical count. I can continue to do this and build this list out with more and more items. Once I'm done with my count, I can simply hit submit. And then the app will navigate around, processing complete. At this point, our cycle count is done. A few other options. We get to see our inventory details, if anything was a variance. We do get an inventory configuration page where essentially what we've done is automated the mass update entry page to where this is more cycle count or inventory count specific, where I can select and filter my items by a few different ranges: item specific, locations, bins, type, if it uses bins or not, filter my list of items here, and then I can update my count interval in days and my next count date, mark all that apply, and then simply update the records if they are current inventory item records, or create new inventory count records. Okay. Next, we also have the inventory count worksheet split by if you wanted to run a count sheet by bins or non-bin items. So I'm going to select the inventory worksheet by bin. At the top, I get additional filters where I can search by specific item name. I could also scan into this field as well. I can filter by location. Let's go ahead and pick Portland. I can filter down by all bins or specific bins. I have the option to sort on this column as well. If I have an alphanumeric sequence that matches the mapping of my warehouse, that would be handy. Start at the beginning, work your way out to the end, or vice versa. I can choose if I want to show serialized or non-serialized items in the list, as well as lot controlled inventory. After I'm satisfied with my filtration of the list, I could simply export to CSV, an Excel spreadsheet, PDF, print, or I could choose to email this directly to people I need to run the count, or people I would like to include in helping me with this count. Okay. Once done, we just simply export. We would click export. Your browser will download an Excel file for you. Once we've completed, I did a short version here of our items. I can see what my current on-hand count and what my physical count quantities were. Then I can navigate to the pre-saved mapping that matches my column headers already. Inventory count suite app import. And from here, this is native NetSuite. I'm adding a new record. I get my information already mapped for me successfully. Go ahead and hit next. I don't need to save over this. I just run. And from here, the inventory count worksheet runs just as native NetSuite's inventory app would, where we're now bringing in essentially inventory adjustment according to the worksheet. There are other functionalities around inventory worksheets. If anybody would like additional information on how that impacts inventory on different costing environments, FIFO, LIFO, average, standard, specific type cost environments, we would be happy to share those details with you outside of this. But for today, that's the end of our inventory count, right? We get to see successful ones that would have been created once the records are written. We end up getting a list. We can always navigate back to and view anything that had occurred. We'll get, if there's a processing error, if we have a link to an inventory adjustment record, we get the full view from one setup. Okay, so with that ends it for me today on demand planning and the inventory count app, and I'll hand it back to you, Tina.
Thank you, Eric. That concludes today's webinar. I'd like to give Eric a big thank you for giving us such useful information. And I'm going to leave you with our contact information should you have any questions. We have team members all over the world to help facilitate your needs. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now.
Thank you for your time today.